What's up, everybody? Welcome to SLR Lounge. My name is Pi, and today we have a super special guest, JP Morgan of the Slanted Lens, here with us.
Great to be here.
Thank you for
Obviously,
coming.
with the cool lights in the background.
I know, right?
We don't have cool lights in the background in my place.
Well, this is all we got. We're kind of a one-trick pony. So.
Yeah. Well, at least you got that.
It's this or nothing, buddy. So, JP Morgan, he is an incredible photographer. You do amazing tutorials on the Slanted Lens. We're going to include links to everything. You're also extremely experienced in commercial work, which is fantastic. You've done directing, you've done commercials, and now you're running the Slanted Lens. And we've brought you here specifically to talk about basically the art of commercial negotiations. Because on the wedding side, here's the thing. On the wedding side, I feel like it's a little bit easier. You set a price. Usually online, you'll say like prices start at this. They come in, they look at their packages, and you say, okay, you get, I want this many hours, I want this coverage, I want this, and you go, okay, that's this package. It's
and that's all broken down. They can just look at that and say, I fit right here. It's
for the most part. I mean, we do some customization and everything,
Yeah.
but it's essentially your job as they come in to basically go, that's $8,000, and then it's your job to shut up and not say anything. Which this is the problem with photographers, like wedding photographers. We're like, that's $8,000, and then you look at their face and they're like not responding, and you're like, but.
And the longer I sit there as a bride, the faster the price drops.
7,000, like 6, 4. I love you. Let's do it for 4.
Exactly.
So that's the
Pretty
art
soon
of
the photographer's
negotiation.
going, can I pay you to be at your wedding?
So I feel like we have that issue on the wedding photographer side, where it's like setting your price and actually sticking to it. But on the commercial side, there is so much room to, because you're bidding
It's
for
all
projects.
over the place. It is.
So throw us knowledge.
Okay. So
Spoon it out to us, maybe slowly.
Yeah. Some tips I found out early on is, first off, I know that the client knows how much they want to pay. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows that. They have a budget.
Yeah.
They've sat in a meeting and they've had all kinds of meetings. They said, okay, we're going to do this shoot for $80,000. Now they call me out and say, can you give me an estimate? And I say, well, sure. Do you have any idea what the budget is? No.
Nope.
No idea. No idea.
That
Going,
drives me
really?
crazy.
No idea? So I go through a series of questions to draw them out a little bit. The first thing I say is, well, have you ever done a shoot like this before? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we did a shoot with this so-and-so. Well, where did that come in at? Oh, we did, they'll keep dancing around. I said, well, no, so tell me, how large is this? And I just keep asking these questions. The rule of thumb, it was a great artist rep. She said, the first person who says the price loses.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be the first one to say the price. So I'll do anything I possibly can to get the person to say the price. Mm-hmm. And so I'll ask them, have you done this shoot before? I'll ask them if they have any idea of the budget because of other things that we're doing with the shoot. I'll just ask them as many questions as possible to finally get them to say, we're hoping to get it under 20.
Okay.
If I can get any reference, any kind of reference, then at least I know the market that I'm in.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing. I'm going to ask them as many questions as possible to try to get them to give me an idea of where they're at budget-wise.
And how often do you find that actually gets you the information that you're looking for? Like,
it's fascinating. If you get good at it, pretty soon they start saying, well, you did a shoot like this before. Was it under $20,000? Oh, no, it was way over $20,000. That's a great, okay. I go, well, of course it was. Why was I saying $20,000? It was definitely more than that. So you just keep asking questions, talking about it. I don't do it all up front. I don't hit them with like 20. It's not, tell me. I come back to it and I'll ask again something, and if we came in around $50,000, would that be way out of your budget? No, yeah, well, and I'll just keep kind of working them until I get an idea of where they're at. Mm-hmm. So that's the first one. Try to get
awesome.
that idea. But then it's really interesting because once I've gotten some sense of where they're at, financially, I'm going to go to the next stage of that process. And now I need as many questions from them as possible. I want to itemize everything out about what's going to happen. The more information they give me, the more I realize that they want me to shoot it. Mm-hmm. The shorter they are with me in that conversation, the more I start to realize, I'm probably the ringer. They're doing 3 people. Mm-hmm. They want me to just give them a price. So if I can get them into a great conversation, and in that conversation, I'm always looking for one issue, one problem that I can solve for them. And I need to find out what they think is the problem. They'll say, well, you know what? The big issue is we have large Cheerios in this shot. I said, oh, really? Large Cheerios? No, large Lucky Charms is actually how
Oh,
it
it's
was.
like literally
Large,
little circles of Cheerios.
and they had somebody floating in this Lucky Charm,
Oh, okay.
and so the issue was, and I didn't catch it, was, well, you can't use Lucky Charms because it's a trademarked.
Oh, I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, you can't use it. And so I didn't ask that question. I missed the issue, and
The
when
combination of shapes is
well, they
what?
wanted to see, the shapes, and they wanted to look like Lucky Charms. And so the
Wow.
photographer that got this and won it from me, he asked that question. Well, that's a copyright issue. Now, in the end, was it really as big an issue as I thought? I don't think it was, but he made it into a big issue. Oh, if the other photographers didn't understand that that's a copyright issue, then
Interesting.
you've got a problem with them.
Yeah.
I'm going, wait a minute. I didn't think it was as big as an issue as he was making it out to be, but he made it the issue that broke the back for me.
Yeah.
He got the job. So you try to find those issues. What are the things that they're really dealing with in this shoot? What can you create to bring value to it that's going to have them say, okay, he's worthwhile?
I actually really like that point because basically you're saying that it's kind of like with other photographers going for it, it's almost finding ways to educate the client to set yourself up as the professional against everybody else. And in that case, which I really appreciate you giving that example despite you not getting that contract because it means a lot to hear that. So that's a fantastic tip.
Yeah, it was a great day. Yeah.
All right. So what's next then? So
But as part of that, number 2 is in that when I'm asking questions, how much do you have, all these kind of things, that's the next one I always ask. Who else is bidding on this?
Okay.
I want to know, and most will tell you that.
They'll tell
Most
you the
will-
names of the people.
Most will, well, if you know them at all, or if they have any sense of, well, you need to know that so-and-so is bidding. In the era that I was bidding so much this large production set stuff, I knew if this name came up, he's going to kill the budget. He's
Yeah.
going to come in low. It's going to give me a problem. I knew if this name came up, I should charge twice as much. You just knew who the names were involved. So I would try to get who it is that's bidding it. If I couldn't get it from them, then my rep would call.
Okay.
And just call the art buyer and say, hey, who is it that's bidding on this?
Okay.
So we kind of know where we're at. And that was really important to know because it gave you a good idea of who you're with. And that gave you perspective on where the budget's going to be. Because they don't call, Annie Leibovitz unless they expect to spend money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so if you're in that category, you don't want to charge $1.50. It's just not going to work.
That's really interesting. So it's kind of like, okay, so far we have finding out a price range, which is fantastic, by the way, because like we've done the same thing where you try and bid on a commercial work and you're like, what do I even start at? And they just don't tell you any information.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then finding other people that are competing so you can kind of see, hey, if they are looking at a Ferrari, then they're looking at $200,000 or whatever it is, I use cars because I like cars.
That's a great analogy. It wasn't a Volkswagen. It was a Ferrari.
I like Volkswagens too.
So that's number 2. Yeah. Number 3 is really simple. How large is the client? If you're shooting this for a trade ad, for a small TV station that's going to run in a small area, the budget's going to be low. You know that that's a different category than, well, we've got these small shots for Coke. That's a much different budget. You know automatically where that's at. Now you have to look at Coke as far as regional versus national. Big difference. Regional advertising never has as much money, even if it is Coke. National advertising, huge budgets.
Yeah.
So you want to know who the client is. You want to get a good idea of kind of the standing of the client, and that helps you understand just kind of where the budget's going to be.
And just so everybody has an idea, if you were to, these don't have to be like anything specific, but general numbers based on, well, if we're working with a local company, it's a local ad versus national, what are the typical ranges that you would see in
That's what's
that,
so
that
hard
budget?
about this. You can do shoots, simple shoots are going to be $8,000 and $10,000 on a local level, and you get into bigger budgets, you're going to go up to $100,000 for a shoot, easily. Just depending on what you're doing. So that's what's hard about it. There's nothing set.
Yeah.
It's not, this is the price for these areas. It's what they get. And that's why they know it. And they try not to give you an idea. But it's interesting. Well, it's one of my other tips here is once you've gotten a budget together, you've talked about all these things, you know who the client is, you've got as much information as you can, you never call them up and give them the printed budget. I either have my rep or I would call up and say, I'm coming in around $65,000. How does that sound to you? Oh my word, you're way out, you're just crazy. I'm going, I was thinking there were some things we need to look at. Just kind of testing the water, kind of see where we're at, and let me go back and kind of look at things. A lot of times I'll use, I must not have understood exactly where we're at. So let me go through a couple of things with you again.
Yeah.
So I'll go back and review the things that we talked about and say, oh, you know what? That's right. This is not, I can do this much cheaper than what we talked about. Mm-hmm. So it gives me a second round before I give them my first bid.
Well, and when you're going and doing that second round, one question that I have is like, if you just chop off 20 grand off of your bid for no reason, then they would just feel like, well, you're just gouging us. So how do you make it look like when you reduce that you're actually reducing for a reason? Are you actually pulling things out to say?
Yeah, I always go through a list of things saying, you know what, I could cut one of the crew members down. We could maybe do a single location rather than two.
Okay.
Maybe rather than building a set. That's the problem with the estimates. That really is the problem. Is that each photographer's approach can be so different. One photographer may build all sets, which could cost $150,000.
Yeah.
Another say, well, I'm going to shoot on 4 locations, and we can get all that for 30.
Yeah.
You know, and so their approach becomes different. So if you say, give them a number and they say, oh, that's way out there, say, well, let me look at the approach. Maybe I'm taking an approach. Did you want to do sets? Do you want to do locations? You try to get it, say, oh, you know what, I can see it now. We really need to take this route. Locations will be a little less money, kind of get us in your budget, makes it a little better. So
Very cool.
So it's kind of retooling. It's a dance. It's
Yeah.
a complete dance. There's no doubt about it. You know,
Well, I found that whenever we do have to negotiate anything with a client, it always made sense to like almost build a package with more in it so that when you need to reduce the price, you have something to remove. Because
Yeah.
whenever you reduce the price without actually removing something, then people just feel like, well, why was the price higher to begin with type
Yeah.
thing. So
exactly it.
I appreciate hearing it's the
Yeah.
same on your side
yeah,
too.
yeah. You got to have a reason, or you just look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be something that it references to. Last tip in commercial work is you really got to understand the usage, because commercial photography is built on you sell usage, you don't give people imagery. And that model is hard for some photographers to hold the line on, but if you do, you're going to really make a lot more money. And it's really the way the industry is meant to be. So I'll ask usage. How are you going to use this? Where's it going to be used? And in that model, I have a fee to shoot it, and then I've got a fee to use additional usage for it. And so I'll say, okay, it's X number of dollars, $6,500 for the day, and that includes this usage. But what that does, it sets them up now for my next sale. Because no one ever uses anything once.
And it's
And
also
now
like web, local, print, national. Everything.
I'll make it. I ask them what's your usage, and on my estimate I now list the usage, and so this price equals this usage. So when they call me back and say, hey, you know, I really need to use this for a billboard, I can now take and say, well, that's going to be 50% of the creative fee for the billboard.
Okay.
I do 50% for additional usages.
I see.
And that I've got images that you just keep selling, you know, and you do that for a 1-year period. And after the year, most agencies that are large, they understand that.
Yeah.
When you get to smaller agencies, they don't get it at all.
Yeah.
They freak out. Going, what, I'm going to pay you to take a picture and then I have to pay you to use the picture? So that's a little harder sell sometimes. So you have to find out where they're at and in that process. And I'll ask them sometimes, do you do usage? I mean, do you understand the principle of usage? You have to ask it in a nice way. A little better than that, but yeah. Do you understand what in the world you're doing?
No, but you know that if they at least respond with, like, are you familiar with, or do you have a plan for how you intend on using the images? If they have an idea of usage, then they probably know that if they say, yes, we're going to go national usage, we like perpetual rights, you know that they're looking at, again, it kind of brings you back to that whole figuring out what range they're in. And I would think that helps you out a lot too.
Helps a lot. If you use that term, what is your usage? Then most people, if they have a defined, well, we're going to use this for trade publications only. The minute they say that, you know that they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And if they don't know, then
Yeah,
it's
if
going
they're
to be a
saying,
small
well,
budget
I don't
type.
know, we're going to use it wherever we need it. Okay, well then, that's a much different deal.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this. And you have so much knowledge on this. And also, you have an event coming up on March 3rd.
We do.
And you have courses on like business and negotiating. So tell us about that. Where can we learn more about this information?
What we do is we have taken, and I've taught this business class now for about 4 years. We take a company and say, here's where you start. And I don't just start you with, pie in the sky. It's not bad. Do you hear that all the time? Sorry.
Actually, that's a fairly new one. Pie in
Is
the
it?
Sky.
Yeah.
In reference to...
So I'm probably old, actually. No,
It works.
Sorry. Good. Anyway, we don't just start with this grand. I start on here's the basic things you need to do each day. We do it over 16 weeks. Finish this one, then go on to the next one. And as you do this, you set up your business. You understand how to incorporate your business or not. All the things you need to do so that by the time you're done, you're making money in the industry. And I go through a daily routine, what you should do every day in order to get clients to make money. It's very identified. If creative people will do it, they make money.
That's awesome. Well, We're going to include that information in the links below. So check out the description below the video for more information on Jay's courses and information that you guys can enroll in. You have a wealth of knowledge. I would love to sit here and pick your brain all day long. You have so much experience in commercial and photography, from everything from lighting to client negotiation and everything. So I super appreciate your time, and be sure to check out more of Jay on the Slanted Lens. Slanted Lens, they have it. Well, we're going to link to that YouTube channel too. And well, we'll see you guys in the next video.